Hello, welcome to the second video in this series of 3 or 4, depending if I can be asked to upload a fourth one, on how to make Mythic on Magic Arena and how I did it. This one is going to be a little different, a little quicker. We've sped up the gameplay footage itself. I think we'll be offering more of just a chat over the top as opposed to just saying what you see. It's not fucking catchphrase. Am I right? I'm by myself, so I've got no answer. Anyway, this time we're going for, well, we went for a very strong, as you can probably see from the first few clicks, red and blue build. Roaming Ghostlight's a fantastic little card, as this deck proved. Skyscanner's not the most exciting of first picks. Looking back here, I think I wish I'd take the Jeskai Elder over the Sanctum of Calm Waters, which I perhaps overvalue a little bit. But once we see an experimental overload here, the rest of the draft pretty much plays itself. I suppose I could have taken the red shrine there, but that's just not that exciting. Chrome Replicate's a card I've rarely been playing, but in this deck it just seemed to work. I suppose when you pick them up in successive fashion in pack one, it helps. Aside from that, a few other cards made 2 and or 3 ofs as the deck went on. So blue-red in this format. I think this is one of the strongest combinations, along with blue-black, and there seems to be a theme here. Everyone talks about the speed of the M2021 format, which I suppose is coming to its end now with Zendikar Rising coming out. I agree that it's fast, but at the same time, as long as you've got some sort of defensive speed, you're able to compensate for the people beating you down. As you can see in a few of these matches, one of the main reasons I sped everything up was just because half the time it was so obvious we were going to win. We were so incredibly far ahead. It didn't even matter what happened. Like the last few turns were just trivial. It was just us winning as the opponent drew 2 drop after 3 drop after land. Which is the beauty of playing a mid-rangey deck like this with some defensive speed. You have the ability to just go a little over the top of the aggressive decks as long as you can keep up with them early on. And you can fight toe-to-toe with the bigger decks, as the card quality here is pretty damn good. Frantic Inventor is a card which actually worked out well for us here. Again, just to spoil and ruin the video for those of you who watch it, we did pick up 3 of them, which is the first time I've ever had enough to play. We could have had 4 if we'd have taken that one instead of a riddle form, unless it wheels. You need a very specific type of deck to make it work. This type of deck, and we were fortunate enough to get it. So everything here I'm picking up, I'm avoiding the 2 mana, and even though I took the Keen Glide Master, I certainly won't play it. It's more of a combo feel than anything else. The cards themselves, we've got the Spellgorger Weirds. When you've got the Roaming Ghostlights and Experimental Overload, you're going to win a long game. You just need to stay alive for long enough to be able to have the privilege of doing it. The Chrome Replicate as well, fantastic value if you can get them down. 5 mana for an 8/8 is pretty darn good. As you can see, we're just picking up good after good blue-red card. We take Shock over Shacklegeist here, which is a decision I stand by. 2 mana, 2/2 flyer with probable. I mean, obviously it has some upside, some downside. I'd say it's more downside given the paucity of spirits here. I'd rather just have a Shock. And the Ghostlight versus Augur pick took me a while to decide between as well, but the Ghostlights, as you'll see, are as fantastic as they look. The Avon Surveyor of the new set. Our game plan was pretty much stall the board, play cards, grow things, and then just bounce everything they've got and climb over the top that way. We had a couple of thriller possibilities. The Crash Throughs didn't make the cut. Unsubstantiate's a card which, whilst is actual card disadvantage, when you've got so much card advantage in a deck like this, is worth playing just to be able to catch you up when you're behind, because the way this deck almost lost a couple of times was just through a quick start. So having the ability to come back from a quick start and still remain in the game is something I value very highly. I should have taken the Spiked Megalodon there, I thought so at the time. I did not, oh well. And the rest of the picks are pretty much automatic, not too relevant apart from, I don't know, we've already got the 3rd Frantic Inventory. So as we go into the deck build, we cut the Crash Throughs, we cut the Sure Strike, the Keen Glide Master, the Sanctum of Calm Waters. We end up with this deck here. Read the Tides is the high end. Let's see how the games worked out in real time. I say real time, I've sped them up quite substantially. And instead of commentating through them, I'm just going to talk over them about how each game set up, what I was thinking at each time. So in this game, I was thinking, please, oh please, can I draw a fucking red mana? Why am I so unlucky? I wish I was never born. But once I'd finished that bemoaning, we managed to slowly get there. Skyscanner proving its worth, sort of. Here, I'm never going to chump block there, given the 3-1's out, given that I'm hoping to trade this off still and stem the bleed. Here it looks like we're very much going to die quite soon. We play Roaming Ghostlight to bounce the Tome Anima and then remember that it's a spirit and there is a different clause on the Ghostlight. Still, get rid of the Charger, and at this point, we're pretty much hoping for the best. There's no way we can't make the trade here. Opponent thought long and hard. It seemed like he had a trick or some sort of preemptive feat of +1/+1 and protection, whatever that card called, I forget. And then when we get to this, we're an 8 life. Cards don't matter. We're miles ahead on cards. We just need to not die. We have a shock in hand. Seems pretty good. I was considering Thriller Possibility, getting rid of the blue or the other one, and then playing Spellgorger Weird, hoping to draw the red and be able to play Spellgorger Shock. Decided against it. Opponent unsubstantiated quite early. I just went for the safer option of shocking his thing. We lose a bit of value on the Spellgorger Weird, but at this point, the value is not that important. We just need to stay alive. So as the opponent taps down our creature, I feel pretty dead here. Luckily, our Chrome Replicator resolves. Leave one back to chump, and our opponent does a very peculiar play. Firstly, he taps the Spellgorger Weird, which makes sense. He then attacks. In response, cycles Waker of Waves. This card's Frost Breath that would have won in the game, and takes a card in hand. So I'm trying to work out what it is. I assume it's cancel or something stopping us doing anything until the shock works on his creature, and pretty much buys us back into the game. It's a long process from here, hence me having sped it up. But we somehow managed to win a game which we are miles behind on, and opponent misses lethal, which always helps. I presume he took the Legion's Judgment over the Frost Breath, and I was about to say, whilst it could be right, it could never be right because he literally missed lethal. I'm very loath to drop the Roaming Ghostlights, but I presume at some point they come down. My feeling is if he draws one creature, we just bounce attack, win. Opponent gets aggressive on the cancel on the crash through. Not sure that's the wisest play, but he did miss lethal, so one imagines it can't be too harsh. One can't be too harsh to him. He draws his way out of it, so we're forced to play the Ghost Lights. We have a cancel in hand at this point, so things can't go too badly. Gets down the Battle Light, or Battalion, sorry. We bounce that, leave our council, and obviously we see our way to the victory. A game we shouldn't have won, simply because the opponent missed lethal, but we did win, and my god, we were delighted to do so. A more regulation keep this time, in that we have red mana. I was always in a bit of a quandary about whether to lead with Frantic Inventory or whether to lead with Thriller Possibility, ditching the Frantic Inventory. Here I go for the Thriller Possibility at the end of his turn just so I don't have to discard because he's missing land drops. There's a very big chance I'll just play a land pass next turn. I don't want to play a land pass discard. As is, we draw Skyscanner, which I presume will be our play instead. The wonderful, trusty Skyscanner. My partner in crime, my partner in everything. My life partner, if it would be so bold. And opponents missed 2 land drops, I think, at this stage, so one imagines, and one would be correct to imagine, that we're not going to be here for too long. Bounce, bounce, removal, big thing, big thing. Seems pretty good to me. No, I was going to say a greedy play, but it's not a greedy play. You don't want to turn to slag the 3-2. At this stage, it's obviously obvious opponent has something. He's got 6 spells in hand. But that being said, there's not really too much I can do aside from bounce this creature and attack. He's either got a counter spell or a removal spell. He had a feat of resistance, which is about as good as it gets for us there, so we still managed to get the attack in. We just trade the trigger for a card. And again, in the light of not having much else to do, I just go for turn to slag, assume it will either get countered or one of our creatures will get killed, but we'll still be hugely ahead on board. Opponent lets it happen, and we take down a very curious victory. Our opponent didn't really do anything. The Strong Keeps begins game 3, and we have our trusty Skyscanner. I can't extol the virtues enough of this. A little card that could. It just does so many things in so many different decks. I'm a big fan of any card that smooths over your draw. I feel it allows better players to have a greater chance of winning. It's more consistency in the game set, less variance. Siege Striker is exactly what you want to see when you have a shock in hand. Can't really think of any way I can get tricky with it. And now we can leave up Thrill of Possibility and cancel, so things can't go that badly for us. Revitalise, an opponent missing the land drop also helps. I'd have most likely run out the Chrome Replicator there if I hadn't drawn the Skyscanner or perhaps 2 Ghost Lights as is. We just want to maximise the ability of getting our 5 mana 8/8 here. There's no need to Thrill of Possibility, we know what we're doing next turn. Opponent waits, thinks, and watches us get 2 4/4s. The Sanctum of Stone Fangs was a card I really liked at the beginning of the format. I just don't feel it does enough though. The more I see, the Sanctum deck never really got there, and it in itself, I mean, you can see it's done 5 damage to us. It's gained in 5 life. That's not bad for 2 mana, but it's not really good either. It hasn't done anything. It's not really changed the way the game's played out at all. As we cycle the first Frantic Inventory. Here's the times when counter spells are just great. I know I'm spending all my mana here to bounce his big imp, but it seems like a good play. But when you have cancel in hand, when you're ahead on the board, it just feels great. When you have it when you're behind, it feels terrible as you basically can't do anything with it. You can't leave it up and counter to stop you going further behind. I was going to shock pre-combat here, but I just went for the attack, see what happens in case he's got feat of +1/+1 protection. He has something even better, or even worse as it worked out for him. So we smash in, and again, there's no point here in doing anything apart from leave up cancel, which we do, as opponent destroys himself. Now, I presume? No, maybe a little later. He fights the good fight for a bit longer as we Chrome Replicator get even more triggers, more bigger things, smash in for damage, and opponent says, you know what, screw this, I'll play a Scythe, and I'll play a 2-drop. If that gets countered, I am out of here. We finally mulligan, which I presume was a misclick, given I can never mulligan ever. But we seem to mulligan into a nice little hand. It helps when you pick up Frantic Inventory and then other Frantic Inventories. Or when you're just an excellent player like I am, who happens to draw the right cards at the right time. Allow me to extol the virtues of Skyscanner once more. Look how beautiful and sleek it is as we pick up our Riddle form into Frantic Inventory. Opponent leaving 3 mana up here. It's suspicious, but he does nothing, so I'm willing to discount him really having anything here. When he attacks into our Riddle form, we have 2 mana up in a blue-red deck. I presumed it was going to go wrong. I was just willing to trade it for a card. I feel that was a particularly loose attack from our opponent. When you've got someone who's playing Riddle form and leaving mana up, you have to imagine they are playing Riddle form for a reason, and that reason is they have loads of cheap instants and sorceries they don't mind casting at the end of your turn. As the game unfolds, opponent keeps playing things, we keep playing roaming ghostlights. Opponent eventually says, you know what, fuck this, I hate my life, I should never been born, and we move on to the next one, thus showing again the power of the bounce. Solid blue-red hand. And you've got look at Riddle form into cycling into shock. Of course, when you've got 4 lands in the opener, there's always the chance of flood, which seems to be borne out by drawing a land. But the roaming ghostlight's a nice top-end play. Thinking here about playing the shock on the Sky Scanner, getting in some damage and starting it rolling until we draw the Spellgorger Weird, which pretty much changes the play. And we're glad we did, given that Magmut is more of a target than Sky Scanner. The beauty of having counter spells and draw spells in the same hand are shown here. Okay, he goes for the right spell there because he targets the Riddle form instead of the Spellgorger Weird. I think with the beauty of retrospect, I might have just let that go and played Frantic Inventory instead. I don't think the 3 mana burn spell on the Riddle form's too bad, even though it has done 6 damage to him since then. I could have Ghost Lit there, but I'd rather not have. His Sky Scanner chumps the Riddle form, and it looks like it's a bit more of a close game, even though we have the bounce in hand. Resetting the Augur is not great, given that it gets him to toss some dead cards, but hey ho. This way we get to get an attack in with Riddle form. Opponent trades, which is perfectly fine for us. And we have our thrill of possibility to stop the flood, which is useful as we seem to be drawing a lot of lands. Again, Ghostlighting his 2/4 is not really an ideal play here, but it's tempo-y enough to do so. Even if opponent is discarding getting better cards, he's still playing 4 mana for the privilege each turn, which is quite a hefty tax. Everything pretty much plays itself from here. The only question is whether to leave Crasher and land in hand or play it now. We do play it now. Bounce the Cur. I realise the Kinetic Augur is more expensive, but as discussed, I'd rather he doesn't get the card selection from the Kinetic Augur. Looks for all the world like he's going to be killing the Ghostlight. Instead, he bounces it, which is very different. We draw 3 from our fortunate draw. Think long and hard about what to do, just go for the bounce again. If opponent can do 9 to us out of nowhere here, fair play to him. Don't imagine he can, and he does not imagine so either. Very similar looking hand here with a Riddle form, double blue cards, which makes the triple red not as appealing. Even more so, but I suppose the beauty of Riddle form is when you're doing nothing else, it does have a second mode. That being said, if I recall correctly, we don't need to engage that second mode because Sky Scanner, as per usual, the card that will bear my unborn children. What a lad. Anyway, Frantic Inventory turning Riddle form into a 3/3. We're not getting there yet with the blue land, but we do have a Chrome Replicator to play if we draw any sort of land. As it happens, we draw the blue, and with 3 Roaming Ghostlights in hand, this game's probably not long for this world, especially if opponent's best player is to replay the 4/2. He sees the writing on the wall pretty quickly. The word nice never meaning nice, so never been so unlike meaning nice. I think by the time we play the third Ghostlight, his hair is pretty much torn out and he immediately concedes. As we go into our 7-0 game, again, nice strong hand. We don't want to throw away the thrill of possibility until we've got the Spellgorger Weird out. Opponent's got a quick start, even though he is playing blue-red. He seems to have a more aggressive version of the deck. I was considering playing Sky Scanner here, but to guarantee hitting, well not guarantee, but help in hitting the land, but the Spellgorger Weird, the ability to actually get in and means he can't just sit there, it's more enticing to me. I have to hit a land here. Cancel is no good to us when we're behind on board, so we toss that, trigger the Spellgorger Weird twice, and hit for 4. I realise opponent can hit us for presumed 4 or more, but we have to put some sort of pressure on lest we just get beaten down by his flyer. He's not doing too well on the Varan front. The Verdalian Arcanist is not the greatest blocker, especially when we are fortunate enough to draw a 5th land and play a Ghostlight. Thinks long and hard about chumping, I presume decides not to. Goblin Wizardry on the opponent's turn. I mean, we have to take the damage here. I'm not trading off 3-2 for a 1-1. This isn't... We look very much ahead, and I'm fine attacking in the hope that he chumps with one of them and I can just bounce the other one. But just the word prowess scares me a little here. So I think I probably will block if the opponent attacks. If the opponent gives me the opportunity to, I'd happily block here. He doesn't. Things look bad, but he tapped it a little bit differently. He should have tapped it so that he could play the Mistral Singer. As is, I think he realizes that. He concedes and we take down the victory. Thank you for watching. There'll be another one on how we got all the way to Mythic soon, even though the Mythic